Hello, viewers. It's been like 2 months, but I have not been gone all this time. I've just been, sorry to say, lazy. Let's just continue. This is part 16 of 999 Let's Play, or Let Us Play, whatever. And just let's continue to the torture room. They passed through the open door and headed to the next room. Junpei jogged down the short staircase and looked around. What the hell is this place? The words had sprung unbidden to his lips, but it was clear why. Junpei shivered. Lotus and Seven reached the bottom of the stairs and stopped short, terrified. This room is really creepy.
I think we ought to get the hell out of here, now.
He jogged up the stairs on the opposite side of the room and shook the door on the wall next to the catwalk. It didn't open, and he muttered to himself.
Figures.
It's locked, isn't it?
Yep. Don't know why I thought this one would be any different.
Junpei looked around the room again. In the center of it was a chair. The back of it was covered with electrodes connected to a nest of wires. Beneath it was a strange glass panel. Junpei wasn't sure what it was for, but it made him uncomfortable. Whatever might have been beyond the glass, Junpei couldn't tell. It was too dark. Junpei turned to look at the right side of the room. There was a table covered with a piece of cloth. Parts of the cloth were stained with something that looked suspiciously like blood. On top of the table were a number of metal instruments. Junpei didn't know what they were for, and he had a feeling he didn't want to find out. His mind began to imagine what could have taken place in that dark, cold room. The things he imagined were not pleasant. Junpei shook his head in an attempt to clear it, and tried to focus on something else.
Anyway, we don't want to stay here any longer than we got to. Let's figure out the puzzle and get the hell out of here. Come on!
Seek a way out. Which room? Okay. There's something on the screen. This device will conduct the experiment. Once the experiment has been completed, the door will unlock. First, adjust the switches to match the blocks in sample above.
Huh. I don't know what this thing is, but we gotta figure out this puzzle.
It's right next to a torture chair. Whatever it is, I don't think it's good. Anyway, we just adjust the switches to match up the blocks up on the top, right? You adjust the switches shown at the four corners of the screen, then press the check button. Junpei, we don't know what this thing does. You can always come back to it later. There are lots of other things you could do. That was easy enough. Adjustment is completed. Now proceeding to execution phase. To complete the experiment, data must be collected from subject. Once preparation is finished, place the subject in the chair.
Whoa, I thought we solved the puzzle already. What does it mean by preparation?
I don't know. I've got a bad feeling about this.
I think this means one of us has got to sit in the chair.
Well, Seven's never gonna fit in that thing. It's either you or me, Junpei. Collecting data. I wonder if it's gonna run electricity through the subject.
There's a human head on the screen. Maybe it's gonna zap the brain with a little electricity.
This really doesn't sound safe. Anyway, we've still gotta prepare. We can talk about this after we've figured out what it means by preparation, alright?
Well, it wants us to prepare, so maybe we ought to ask it what we need to do.
Error. The disposal tank is closed. Please fill tank with water.
What tank?
Oh man, don't tell me we gotta do something with a water tank.
Well, there's probably something around here to open the tank, or whatever it's asking us to do.
It looks like the only controls are in this room. These levers have got to turn something on.
Of course they would. All they can do is turn something on or off. What's important is what they turn on or off.
Don't say the floor is going to suddenly open up. I can see some oil or something down at the base of the lever. Yeah, it feels like it's got some movement to it. I should be able to pull this one. Alright, let's pull the lever.
Is that water? What the hell? What's going on?
Will you calm down? It's just water going somewhere. It sounds like it's underneath us. That means the floor... Oh! Junpei, look! What's she... Oh, damn! I can see through the glass now. Okay, maybe that wasn't the right emotion or whatever, but... EDBF. There are a couple of letters in the color of blood written on the shark's belly.
It's dead. Looks like the letters are E, D, B, and F. Whatever these are for has to be in the room somewhere.
Let's check this table over here. This wrench looks brand new. Considering where we found it, I have to wonder how it was used. Knock it off. I don't want to think about that. You've already seen plenty of things that are a lot more cruel than that. You're unexpectedly sensitive. Come on, let's not talk about stuff that doesn't matter, okay? We need to find somewhere where we can use this thing. A number of rusty torture tools are lined up here.
I don't think there's anything else here we need.
Of course, the entrance is locked. It's been like that in every room we've been in. What did you expect? There's no point trying to go back. Let's just think about going forward, alright? The cover's bolted on there pretty good. Should be able to get those bolts off with this wrench we just found, though. Oh, hey, that's convenient. Sweet, it's open! The hole's too small. You can't see in even with the cover off. Well, you can't see in, but I think there's enough room to stick your arm in. Are you sure you want to do that? There could be something dangerous in there. Okay, I admit that scares me a little, but we need to see if there's anything useful in there. Alright, here we go. Arm into the hole. Hey, I think I can feel something. It's small, cold, and hard. Doesn't feel like there's anything else in here. Alright, let's see what this thing is. Sun key.
A key with the sun symbol on it.
We should be able to open the other door with this.
Yeah, but we gotta get out of this room before we can do that.
And we're probably gonna need the sun key to do that.
But none of the doors in this room have keyholes. I bet we gotta use it on something that's not a door.
Blah. I apologize for this basically being Let's Read 999. Why am I not reading this? All of a sudden. Sorry. Red, yellow, do you think the colors mean something? And then yellow said 7 said something along the lines of, I don't know. The bottom of this one looks like it's covered in rust. I don't think it'll move at all. E. There are a bunch of buttons here with the letters A through F on them. Let's push some of them. Down you go. So if I press it again, back you come. I guess these buttons switch something on or off when you push them. E, B, D, F. What? There's a strange noise coming from the chair. It looks like it's been turned on. I guess the puzzle here was that the power had to be sent in a specific way. The sun key should fit into the keyhole on these manacles. Alright, sun key, in you go. And yes! Great, they're open. I don't think we're going to need the sun key again in here, though. Just seems unlikely. Alright, sun key, you've done your job. Into my pocket with you! I don't think examining the chair is going to cause the machine to do anything. I should probably take a look at the monitor instead. The restraining device is unlocked. Please seat subject and device. The message on the screen was disturbingly detached. Well, like we thought, it's not going to work unless someone sits in it. How ironic that this would be the situation in which this slim, beautiful body is useful. Lotus, are you sure? I can sit in it and you can solve...
Junpei's right. If we screw it up...
Seven couldn't bring himself to finish the thought. His eyes fell to the floor. Junpei followed them. Beneath them was the dead shark, floating underneath the glass. Perhaps it had been killed by an electric shock. I'll be fine. Even if I fall in, the shark's already dead. But no one likes an indecisive man, Junpei. I can still give you advice from the chair, too, you know. I just don't want to stay in this room any longer than we have to. Go over to the screen and let's get this over with. After her words had made it clear that Lotus would book no argument, she turned and walked towards the chair without hesitation. But she did not sit down. Despite what she'd said, she did indeed feel hesitation. Her legs shook. Look, do you think you could do me one last favor? Don't say last. You're making me nervous. Just listen. If something happens to me, I want you to tell my daughters that I love them very much. No, tell them that I will always love them.
Daughters? You've got kids?
Yes, I do. I suppose they're about your age, Junpei. They're twins. I had them when I was young after some things happened. Their names are Nana...
Wait! Nana? Junpei's words shot out before he even realized what he was saying. He remembered the story Seven had told him.
Aoi, Light, and Nona. Those were their names. Well, some of them. The kids that were there in the experiment, I mean. What the hell? What's wrong with you? Lotus took a step back from Junpei. Seven looked just as shocked as Junpei. He blinked his eyes rapidly, as if he weren't sure he was completely awake.
No way. It couldn't. Lotus, is your last name Kashiwabara?
Lotus's eyes went wide. How did you know that?
Are you serious? What the hell is this? There's no way you're that kid's mom.
That kid? What do you mean, that kid? Why are you acting like you've met her? Seven's brow furrowed.
I have.
What?
Yeah, I met one of your kids.
When?
9 years ago.
Where?
On this ship.
Why were you...
It's not a short story.
I don't care how long it is. Tell me, please. What happened here? Seven glanced at Junpei, then turned back to Lotus and began to speak. It was the same story Junpei had heard only minutes before. Every detail. Ellipses. And pictures. At last, Seven finished. Lotus shook her head. Oh my God. Everything I've been looking for the last 9 years. The person who had all the answers was right here. Looking for? Yes, that's right. 9 years ago, my daughters disappeared. Then 9 days later, they came back. They never told me what happened to them over those 9 days. I took them to the doctor, but I was told they hadn't been hurt in any way. Still, I was sure that they'd been through something terrible, so I couldn't bring myself to force them to talk about it. If I did, then I'd force them to relive whatever horrors they'd been through. I didn't have any choice. I had to try to ignore it and move on. A few months passed. Gradually, they started to act like they always had, before they disappeared. They smiled and made jokes and did all the silly things kids do. It got harder and harder for me to ask them about what happened. How could I ask them to remember that? Eventually, I knew there was no way to do it. But I'm still a mother. I couldn't simply forget something terrible had happened to my children. So I decided I would investigate what had happened on my own. I would find out what happened during those 9 missing days. What did you find out? That was... I don't know who that was. I didn't see... nothing. The police pretended to be concerned, but they didn't do anything. Once the 16 children who'd gone missing came back, things were just swept under the rug. Even the media didn't talk about what had happened. I figured somebody was probably paying or threatening them to keep their mouths shut.
Cradle Pharmaceutical. No, probably something even bigger than that.
Cradle Pharmaceutical? Have you heard of them before? No, that's the first time I've ever heard that name. Seven, how did you find out that Cradle Pharmaceutical was connected to the kidnappings in the first place?
I figured finding out whatever the victims had in common would lead me to the culprit. That's what any good cop does.
What'd they have in common?
Every single one of the kids who disappeared had gone to this one hospital at some point. The hospital was one of a bunch that were under the control of Cradle Pharmaceutical.
Hold on, real quick. There we go.
After that, it was just about connecting the dots.
The hospital. The hospital.
For a while, I was trying to get some kind of story out of the kids at the hospital. One of them told a weird story.
What was it?
Have you heard about the Gansfield experiment? I guess all these kids had to go through it while they were at the hospital. I think it was passed off as some sort of counseling.
Seven cleared his throat and proceeded to explain the Gansfield experiment, or Gansfeld experiment. I'm not going to read this in Seven's voice. First, subjects Q and A are put into separate rooms, far away from one another. Then a series of video images are shown to subject Q, who is told to send the images to subject A by thinking about them. Subject A, on the other hand, is put in a large reclining chair and given a blindfold. With their senses cut off, A is asked to guess what images Q is looking at. Oh yeah, I've heard of that. It's a famous telepathy experiment, isn't it? Telepathy. Junpei rolled the word over in his mind. That's how the experiment on the ship was supposed to work. The experiment to control people, right? Yeah. I don't know if any of the telepathy stuff really exists, but maybe someone from Cradle Pharmaceutical bought into it. Lotus grunted. Samba had been thinking hard for the last several minutes and finally spoke.
Even if that is the case, I still don't get how that has anything to do with any of this. The nonary game, Zero, why we're kidnapped. What does any of that have to do with telepathy? I know I brought all this stuff up, but I have no idea. Maybe none of this stuff is connected after all.
Then, in that moment of silence, a cold voice echoed down from the ceiling. No subject has been detected. Unless the subject is detected within 60 seconds, all power will be shut down. System recovery is estimated to take 1 hour. If you wish to proceed with the experiment, please seat the subject in the restraining device.
Whoa, that doesn't sound good.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going.
Oh no, that's not what we... Just hurry up and get it over with. Junpei, I'm counting on you. Right.
Lotus sat down on the chair. Junpei looked at her one last time and then made his way to the monitor. Lotus, please tell me right away if you feel anything weird. You worry too much. Now get on with it and be a man, or June's gonna leave you. Lotus was putting on the best act she could manage, but her legs were shaking so much that if she hadn't been sitting, she likely would have fallen down. Failure was not acceptable. Junpei took one last deep breath and stared at the monitor. Oh yeah, I had to write all this down on a piece of paper. It was so fucking hard. I don't know why, but let's try this. One, two. Alright, so that's those, mostly. Yes! It took me a lot longer the first time because I don't know why. It took me like an hour and I wrote things on paper. The experiment has concluded. The door will now unlock. I can hear the door unlocking. And now we've got a new message. Release subject from restraining device. Lotus, are you alright? Yes, I am. I'm glad nothing bad happened, but I do think my life just got a little shorter. Hold on, I'll get you out right away. Shouldn't take long for Seven and me to get her out of here. Let's get out of here now. Being a guinea pig is not for me.
Damn straight. I don't ever want to see this thing again.
Only 20-ish minutes. As opposed to the first time I did this. Well, the first time I did any of these puzzles.
You found it!
Outside of the room, a hallway led off to their left. With nowhere else to go, they started down it. It turned left twice before they saw the elevator. In silence, they jogged up to it. Junpei pushed the C button. The elevator motor ground away, and before long they found themselves once again on sea deck. The door opened, and they stepped off. They'd expected to find 4 other people waiting for them. There were none.
Where'd they go?
I have no idea. Lotus shrugged. Something in the pit of Junpei's stomach stirred. He tried to forget the feeling and took off down the long hallway before him. Seven and Lotus followed at a run. They ran and ran and ran. The hallway seemed endless. Their destination had already been decided, the door behind the central staircase. There was a sun symbol engraved on the keyhole of that door, and Junpei had the sun key in his pocket. That key would open the door. It had to. That was why they ran for the central staircase. They'd run for quite some time when they'd arrived at the door that ended the hallway. Junpei stopped. He laid his hand on the doorknob, his breathing heavy. Seven laid a hand on his arm.
Hold on a sec there.
Huh?
We don't have the key for this one yet, right?
There's the Jupiter symbol engraved over the keyhole. Seven was right. They had no Jupiter key. Then we can't open this door. Unfortunately, no, we can't. Jeez. The sun door's gotta be just on the other side of this, you know? Frustrated, he twisted the doorknob. The door opened. Hey, it opened!
What?
The others must have found the Jupiter key. Well, what are we waiting for? As he spoke, he shoved the door the rest of the way open. They rushed through and stopped cold. The terrible scene before them had made their blood run cold. 3 people lay dead on the floor, covered in blood. Junpei felt a cold sweat trickle down his spine. He couldn't breathe. His legs shook. His body felt cold, deathly cold. But his blood was boiling hot. He could feel his mind begin to fade. He couldn't think. He couldn't concentrate. His mind was blank.
What the hell? What the hell happened?
Seven's voice was weak and broken. He edged towards the bodies, his movement stiff. He bent down over Clover and pressed his fingers to her wrist.
Nothing. She's dead.
Suddenly, Lotus moved. Before he understood what was happening, her hand was in Junpei's vest pocket. Hey, what are you doing? He leapt back. Lotus looked up at him, terrified. The key! Give me the sun key! Why? What do you think? We have to get out of here before the murderer comes back. The murderer. The murderer. Once again, Junpei looked at the dead bodies. Santa, Clover, and Ace. That meant that the person who had killed them was... Let's see, 3 plus 4 plus 1. That's all 8. So... No. No, it couldn't be true. Before Junpei could react, Lotus dove back into his pocket and came out with the key. Let's go! Without waiting for Seven or Junpei, she ran straight for the central staircase. They followed. Junpei shut his eyes and swallowed his emotions. Morning would have to wait. Soon they stood in front of the door. Lotus shoved the sun key into the keyhole and twisted it hard. But... Why?
What happened?
Nothing. Nothing happened. I didn't feel it unlock.
Oh no. Is it the wrong key?
I don't know. Maybe... Lotus sighed, defeated, and leaned against the doorknob. She felt it twist. A small gap appeared between the door and the frame.
What the hell is this?
You mean the door was already unlocked?
Why?
How would I know that? Whatever, let's just go. Lotus took a deep breath and slowly opened the door the rest of the way. They stepped inside. In front of them was another hallway. It stretched out towards the bow of the ship. They began to run. Faster and faster they ran, trying desperately to reach the end of the hallway. A few seconds later, they were there. In front of them stood a massive metal door. Panting. They were all breathing heavily as Junpei spoke. What the hell is this door? I can't see anything that looks like a doorknob, or a switch, or a lever, or card reader, or anything. How the fuck are we supposed to open this?
We don't have a choice. We're gonna have to go back.
No, no, I'm not going back there. There's a murderer back there. There was more stark terror in Lotus's voice than authority. She was almost begging.
But I don't see any other doors.
As he spoke, Seven stepped towards the door in front of them, as if to illustrate that it was the only door. It opened. Nothing surprising. A simple automatic door.
Look, guys, I've got a really bad feeling about all this. The other doors were already unlocked, and this one's automatic. We haven't seen anything like this before.
How could their situation possibly get worse? 3 people were already dead. They'd hit the bottom, Junpei told himself. There was nowhere to go but up. He stepped through the door. And whatever hope Junpei had managed to summon disappeared. No. No. It wasn't true. It couldn't be true. It was impossible. Utterly impossible. It was a dream. It had to be a dream. A nightmare. Yes, it was a nightmare. And if he could just wake up, he was seeing things. Yes, that was it. This was a hallucination. A lie. It wasn't real. It wasn't real. It wasn't real. Right? June. No! No, the code names meant nothing now. Canny. Canny! Canny! Junpei cried out and leapt through the door. He flew to her side, his heart like a stone in his chest. Canny! Canny! Hang on! Junpei swept her up and shook her by the shoulder. She moaned, and her eyes fluttered open, but only barely. Canny! Jumpy. Her face was pale, and her lips were dry and cracked. Her eyes were blank and cloudy. They stared straight at Junpei, but saw nothing. Junpei put his hand against the small of her back to hold her up. It felt warm and wet. He lifted his hand up. It was covered in blood. Oh man. Canny, what the hell happened to you? How did this happen? It was all he could do not to break into tears. Jumpy, I'm sorry. Her voice was thin. A minuscule thread was the only thing keeping her. That was the only thing keeping her with him. I might not make it. No, no way! No way am I gonna let you die! I'm gonna save you, I promise! Thank you, Jumpy. Thank you so much for everything. I was really happy to see you again, Jumpy. Really happy. Don't give me that I was crap. You're gonna see me again lots more times. You've just gotta hang on, alright, Kenny? What could he do? He looked up from Kenny, desperate for something, anything. Then he saw it. A small submarine. A submarine? What on earth was a submarine doing here? No, that didn't matter. Nothing mattered, except saving Kenny. That was the only thing he wanted. Junpei turned his head back to look at her. Hang on, alright? There's a submarine over there. I'm gonna go see if it works. No, don't go. Please don't go. Please just stay with me, okay? I want to be close to you, Jumpy. When I... Canny. Jumpy, did you know you meant a lot to me when we were kids? I've liked you for a long time, Junpei. A really long time. Junpei's vision had gone blurry. It took him a moment to realize his eyes were filled with tears. He could feel a piercing point of heat deep in his heart, like a white-hot flame. Jumpy, do you remember how we hung out a lot when we were kids? We went to the pool and to the fair. Do you remember playing a snowball at the school? They're all memories I'll never forget. All of those moments are treasures to me. But I also wanted to go to a lot of other places with you. A lot more. But that won't happen now. No! I mean, yes, it will happen! We'll go to all sorts of places, Canny. You hear me? I promise, we'll go wherever you want. Really? Yeah, really, I swear. That makes me happy. Really happy. She said it to herself, over and over, a weak smile creasing her tired face.
Jumpy, I feel sleepy.
No, Canny, don't fall asleep.
Thank you, Jumpy. Thank you so much.
Her eyes were slowly closing. Junpei screamed, even as he felt his throat go hoarse. Canny! 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 I did not mean for that to be comical, but then I got mucus in my throat. Time passed. Junpei wept, curled around Candy's body. He cried and cried until he had no tears left. When the last tear fell, Junpei was no more. His body remained, but only as an empty shell. Somewhere he heard a bell ring. It was the clock at the central staircase. It rang 5 times, then faded. 5 o'clock. Quietly, gently, softly, he set Kenny down on the floor. Slowly, Junpei stood. Only then did he realize that Seven and Lotus had not followed him. Where had they gone? Slowly, he looked around the room. There was nothing. No sign that they had ever been there. It felt as though every part of Junpei's body was made of lead. Slowly, he made his way to the door he'd come through. As he approached it, it opened, sliding apart with a sound like grinding stone. Junpei passed through the gate and into the hallway. His heart rattled in his chest, an empty, lifeless thing. It had been so utterly broken that there was nothing left to feel. When he saw their bodies, he simply stared. It was a lake, a sea of blood. 2 bodies lay in it. There was no need to check. There was no breath left in them. His eyes lit on Lotus's wrist. Her bracelet. It was gone. He stared. It meant nothing to him. He didn't care anymore. He couldn't care anymore. Junpei's body felt numb. A part of him knew the lump of lead in his chest had once been a heart. He couldn't quite remember what it had been for. Tears poured from his eyes in great streams. He wasn't sure why. He gave up trying to make them stop. He turned around. The door opened again, and slowly, numbly, he walked through. He kept walking. Why stop? An object set in motion, simple inertia, carried him forward. Eventually, he found himself in front of the submarine. His arm reached for the hatch. And then he was floating in water. His eyes stared down into it. He couldn't see the bottom. His back was hot. Dimly he felt the blade of a knife in it. Who? One dead body lay behind door number 5, the body of the 9th man. Another lay in the shower room, the body of Snake. At the central staircase were 3 more, Ace, Santa, and Clover. Just outside the door were 2 corpses, those of Seven and Lotus. And in this very room lay the body that had once been Canny. And now, Junpei would join them. Who, then, had killed them all? Who? Junpei let out one last breath. Faintly, he felt the bubbles creep up the side of his face. His consciousness faded quickly, dissolving away into the cold, gentle lapping of the water. Credits. As I'm sure you can tell by now, that is the second ending that we're getting of 999. I'm sorry for delaying it for like 2 months, even though there was, only 1 part left, basically. Let's see. The people who had died. 9th man. I'm counting this like on my fingers, but you can't see it. Sorry. 9th man, Snake, Ace, Santa and Clover, June, sorry, I don't know, 7, Lotus, and then Junpei, so that's all of them. Fortunately, I know something you guys don't. Though there's still an ending that even I haven't gotten yet. Actually, there's like 2 I haven't gotten. But anyway, I'm not going to spoil anything for you. I'm going to try not to. This was the knife end. Wait, no. The submarine ending. Let's see. The last one was a knife one, I think. This one was a submarine one. I will say that there's one more that I remember, or that I've gotten where you die. I've only gotten 4 of 6 endings. And there's supposed to be one other one where you die that... Wait. Yeah, I think there's one other one where you die that I haven't gotten. I'm not sure. The end. Or is it? The music is fucking haunting as shit. Jesus Christ. It creeps me out. Would you like to keep the information you've gained during this playthrough? This data will be retained in your save file. If you restart the game, you'll still start at the beginning. Yes. Save completed. From the title screen, you can import data from this playthrough and either play from where you... Oh. Well, that was the second ending with the submarine, as you can see right there. And then, yeah, we have unlocked more rooms for Memories of the Escape. See how many more rooms we've got. We haven't been through door 1, door 9, door 8. Those are the 3 rooms we have not been through. 1, 9, and 8. Excuse me, sorry. Well, this has been 999, part 16. I will hopefully start pumping these out, because I need to. So, until next time, viewers, and whatnot, peace!